And I guess we've already kind of touched on this, but Patrick, what are the emotions people feel when in a trade, and are there any videos touching on that?
Yeah, I would say fear and greed are the two, and you can kind of spawn off those two emotions. I would probably add hope to the equation too. I think
Yeah.
that's the reason why people hang on to trades they shouldn't be hanging on to, because they think price is going to come back their way and then it doesn't, and they don't want to take a loss because they don't like what that does to their account, because now they got to claw back to even. So I think those are the things that really trip people up. I did a podcast on desperation too. I think this is really important because I said this in my book. Forex is the market of the poor because of the leverage attached. A lot of people who don't have a lot of money around the world, they didn't feel like they could get into stocks. This is before crypto came around, and they were drawn to Forex for a couple reasons. One was the leverage. In some countries, if you put $1 in, you can have 500 in the game because the leverage is so ratcheted up so dangerously like that. And then two, they saw a lot of quick money scammers online making a ton of money from Forex. And a lot of these people are desperate. And if you're desperate, you will never, ever, ever become a good trader, because your expectations are never where they should be, and you're way too attached to the money you're trading with. That is a recipe for 100% disaster, complete fail rate if you have desperation as an emotion. You have to get rid of it somehow, and you have to only trade money you don't care about. And that's why I tell a lot of people too, look, you can just really get to where you want to be by doing it mostly on demo. After you've gotten really good at the demo part, go ahead and trade some real money just so you know what that feels like. But after you're done with that, try to go pro. Try to trade somebody else's money. It's a lot better that way. Keep your money, and then if you can have somebody hire you and give you their money to trade on their behalf, I mean, it's still another whole brand of an emotional roller coaster, but at least it's not your money you're attached to, and you don't feel that desperation of having to multiply it X amount in a certain amount of time. That is a killer. I forgot about that. I'm glad I thought of it. But fear and greed mostly. But desperation is the one thing that if any new trader has, I can guarantee what their result's going to be.
Yeah, fear is a really weird one because it works on both sides of it as well. You could be sat looking at a particular market, potentially waiting for a trade setup, and the fear kicks in because it starts to move in the direction that you were eyeing up, or that that you're thinking about trading in, and the fear kicks in, and all of a sudden you're fearful that you're going to miss out on this trade, and then as soon as you're in it, the fear starts all over again, in that you're going to get stopped out on this trade. I think a lot of newer traders really struggle with that, and one of the questions that I always ask them is, but why are you fearful? What are you scared of? If you miss out on that trade, what does it matter? If you were doing backtesting on a strategy and that didn't quite trigger you into a trade, you wouldn't have been annoyed in the backtest that it didn't put you into the trade. And why are you scared about getting stopped out? Because again, if you've tested your strategy, you'll know that if this is just one of the trades that lose, then it's just one of the trades that lose. And there's going to be the other trades that come along and offset these losses and leave you with a profit. So if you're, I mean, it's not as easy as that, obviously, in real life, but if that's the thing that you're coming back to every time, is that you've got this proven set of numbers in the background that show why you don't need to be fearful, the fear doesn't need to be there, then I should think that would help a lot of people I know. When I started to realize that really helped me a lot.
Yeah, and it has to do with, I think it has a lot to do with traders just want to be right. So that's why they're afraid. They're afraid of being wrong.
Yeah.
They want to be right. I feel like if I was making videos, I'd have a few ideas for videos after this conversation. Is kind of like, what kind of message or video would you put out for traders who, telling them, listen, take a break, reset. Like what would that video look like? Take a break, reset, and it's okay to lose. You got to get back in the game. Because a lot of people, they lose and they just like, I'm done. I'm a loser. I can't do this. They just walk away from the game. But that's a lesson you've learned.
Yeah, and also it's honestly not for everyone. Like, do you know what I mean? I'm not good at everything. Nobody's good at everything. And my partner always says to me that my brain works in a very logical way. And for me, understanding certain things or doing certain things come much easier to me than say other people. And you pay the price for something else. Like creatively, possibly, I wouldn't put myself down as a particularly creative person or imaginative person. So we're not all good at all things. And just because you didn't do great in this particular venture that you took, it doesn't matter. It's just one thing that you've tried. I think with some people, it's the reluctance to say, well, look, this just doesn't suit my personality. Doing something like this, just because some people are in. You might come across some people that are just inherent gamblers. They literally just cannot get away from sort of the gambling mindset of, I just want to be involved. I just want to be involved. Or like you say, I need to be right. So I would say that for some people, maybe it's just worth thinking, well, is this really for me? Because like Patrick said with the desperation, that's a really tough one to put to someone, is that maybe you're just not in the right place to do this at the minute, and going away and doing something else for a bit until the situation is different might be the best answer.
Yeah, I'm really glad you asked this question, Michael, because I have a bit of a contrarian answer here. And it comes down to the way we trade on the channel. You're putting together a system that you back tested 3 years prior, and you forward tested at least 6 to 12 months ahead. And you wouldn't be trading it unless you know that it works long term. So the last thing you ever need to do is, after taking a string of losses, say, I'm going to take a break and stop. Because as soon as you do that, it never fails. That's always when you miss out on a really great trade. So if you're doing it our way, I always say, don't get frustrated and take breaks. Just put your head down and keep going. The market is not going to trade against you for too long. It's going to get good again, and you want to make sure you're there for it. You don't want to only make sure you're there for the losses and you miss out on all the wins, because that's exactly the recipe on how to do that. So it all depends on what you're doing. If you are more discretionary and you're trading price action and your circuits are overloading, then yeah, maybe you should take a break. But if you're trading an actual system, you need to trade that system all the time and never stop, or else you're never going to know how it's going to perform over time if you're not consistent with it.
100% agree. The difficulty that I've run into sometimes is the people that tell you this, that they're trading a system. For all the best will in the world, they want to trade a system, but when you look at the trades that they're taking, they're not, because these emotions are getting in the way, and they're getting, FOMO, fear of missing out, or whatever, and they're jumping into trades that don't actually quite fit that system, and the second guessing comes in, and all the emotions that we talked about. So Patrick's 100% right. If you've got to a point where you can trade a system well and implement it correctly, then 100% you just have to ride out that bad patch. But if you've got other problems, that's when you really need to take a bigger step back and say, well, look, what things do I need to fix first?
I guess we're winding down the last 10 minutes. What message do you have for traders, and what do you consider a successful trader?
I was talking.
Yeah, sorry for Luke. You started, so go.
I can't remember what video it was I was doing, but I was talking about people's interpretations of good and bad trades. I tell you what it was. I was reviewing a video of another trader that I'd seen who was trading futures, and basically this guy had a couple of weeks trading futures for the first time, way over leveraged, and ultimately his count ended up getting blown up. But he had a good run in the first 7 days or so, and he actually made like 300% on his account in a week. So obviously you can imagine how that ends. But what was really interesting to me was this trader interpreted good trades as winning trades, not good trades as trades that he followed his system rules by and wasn't influenced by anything else, regardless of the result. Because this is the thing, a good trade can still lose and a terrible trade can still make money. The monetary, the profitable or loss outcome of a trade does not deem whether that trade was good or not. And I think that's something that a lot of new traders really struggle to grasp.
Yeah. The one piece of advice I would tell people, especially if they're getting in this for the first time, is this is going to take a very long time for you to get good at and for you to really become profitable at. Kind of like you said at the top of the show, Michael, nobody just jumps in, makes a bunch of money in one trade, and then has the ability to stop. That's not real. It's like going to Vegas and hitting your first slot machine pull and hitting a jackpot. You know darn well that Vegas has got you at that point, and you are now going to keep going until all that money goes away. So I think if people just understand that this is going to take years to get good at, and then once you get good, you still might not be making consistent money. So don't quit your job, do it on the side. And if you can understand that, at the very least, we have done our best to take desperation out of the equation. And that's a good start. It's going to take you a long time to master those other emotions, but at least if you get the expectations part of the equation right from the start, I like your chances better than just about everybody else.
Yeah.